Boom. Almost connected here. Awesome. All right, let me pull up some notes. Hello, welcome, welcome. Go ahead, throw something in the chat. Let me know you're here. Today we are going to be talking about some very futuristic stuff and kind of some safety measures we should consider taking. But I'm going to give it just another minute, maybe let a few more people get on, share a link around, and then we will get going. Oh, you probably just lost my face, didn't you? Right. Alright, cool. I'm gonna still... Let's do this. There we go. Limiting dangerous technologies. Let's share this. Wow, Twitter is very non-responsive today. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Yeah, there are a couple of different things we're gonna kind of talk about a little bit. I will get a little bit specific, but yeah, I'm gonna talk about. Well, there's nobody on right now, so I'll wait just another minute, and then we'll get going. Got function. AI, genetic engineering, yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about. So today, yeah, we'll talk about artificial general intelligence. We'll talk about genetic engineering. We will talk about. What's the other thing I just saw? I gotta get a list together here. Oh, geoengineering. Yeah, that's scary. And a thing that people are tossing around. We got to be careful about that. We've already seen we've done that very terribly. Gain and function research. We'll talk about. Oh yeah, brain-machine interfaces, military weapons. Sweet. All right. Glad to have a couple people join. Go ahead, throw something in the chat. Say hello. Let me know you're here. I'm going to get started. But yeah, today just going to be talking about some of the kind of bleeding edge technology and kind of maybe some safety concerns around them and how we should be approaching it. So yeah, I was kind of going through what some of them are. So there are some big ones, right? So artificial general intelligence. We don't know what's going to happen with that. It's kind of a coin toss. Like, is it going to kill us? Is it going to subjugate us? Like, who knows what's going to happen? So like that's a thing we got to be careful about. Just we got to be careful about genetic engineering. We've already seen CRISPR used to make like designer babies, and that is like a big deal, and we need to have international efforts to we'll talk about that. We got to talk about gain of function research. Obviously, as we've seen with that's become a hot button issue with COVID-19. That's actually kind of disappeared from the conversation, unfortunately. It just kind of, where'd it go? What happened to the investigation? As well as just other bleeding edge, like medical and military tech. But yeah, so I mean, we have some of these very promising but very scary technologies that could really disrupt, our way of life in very extreme ways. And the goal, of course, would be for it to be positive, right? To do, to make things better, right? I mean, we want, I'm absolutely looking forward toward a future where we can stop and reverse aging and eliminate all disease, and people don't need to die anymore, unless they want to. But I mean, well, that will be a totally different kind of future, thinking about that. But like, I very much have gotten over this kind of thing about like death is a part of life. No, death is the end of life, and there's like, that's it. And that's awful, and if we can stop that, let's stop it. So like, I'm totally into that. I'm super into the idea of like fixing some of the like genetic problems that humans have. I'm into all the kinds of things that artificial general intelligence could do for us, potentially. I'm into a lot of these kinds of things, but I also recognize like the inherent danger of them. That like, if they go wrong, they can go disastrously wrong. It can be literally humanity ending, and that's a big deal. We saw this with the nuclear bomb. I mean, that science was done to try to produce a new kind of. It was mostly just research. I don't know if this is true, but I believe Einstein thought that it would never be turned into a weapon, and then it was. And just last week, I was talking about nuclear disarmament and how it's still a problem. And we can use that technology to produce energy, which is fantastic, and there are a lot of really incredible things about it. But we got to have people in the room saying, no, we're not gonna use these things in terrible ways. And so we sort of have seen this potentially with gain of function. We don't know for sure so far whether or not it almost certainly was a lab leak, but whether it was the origin was from nature or from something that was modified, we're still not sure about the coronavirus. And like, clearly we need to have more. We need to be going slower with this kind of stuff. We need to be safer with it. Of course, genetic engineering is a huge concern, as well, as we've already seen designer babies, and how that technology can very easily be distributed inequitably, and how that can end up creating a further class divide. And so I think that there needs to be regulation around that. But I will say there has been success in the past. When Dolly the sheep was cloned, there were like big outcry, and cloning humans became illegal. And still to this day, we're not cloning humans. We're cloning every other animal out there, but we're not cloning humans. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think we need to be cloning people. I don't see the benefit of that. And so like this, it can be done, right? But we need to have cooler heads in the room prevailing over and saying, hang on, it's that classic line from Jurassic Park. your scientists were so concerned with whether or not they could, they never stopped to ask whether or not they should. And so I think some of these things are still worth pursuing, but we have to make sure that they don't go off the rails. And I think it's better for it to take longer, and even if that means that in the short term there will be more human suffering if some of these technologies are slowed down. I think we have to take a very long-term utilitarian approach at like, well, it would be better if general intelligence came 10 years later than it was going to, if we intentionally slowed down the research on it just to ensure that the safety was there. I do like Elon Musk's concept of, if we make it so artificial general intelligence is combined with our own intelligence in a way, then making ourselves symbiotic with it, that is kind of the best chance we have. I think that's kind of sensible, but there's all sorts of interesting creative ideas, such as like, I remember a couple years ago, a paper came out around, it was basically using AI to learn what people want and then using that to train AI in a way. It was really interesting, but it was much more comprehensive than what I just described. But that was really cool. But like, we absolutely need a bigger emphasis on safety, because some of these technologies could cause some very, very big problems. And so this is kind of one of the big themes of my campaign, is that I'm a 21st century candidate. I grew up and I live in the information age, and I've learned about this stuff, and I can have comprehensive conversations about them. And I think that I'm not a researcher in these fields, right? Like, I'm learning about them out of my own personal interest, but that I am very much on the side of, look, the well-being of people above all else, and like, additionally, like, taking this long-term view of like, let's make sure that we're not pushing too far too fast, and this is going to take international cooperation. One of the things about bleeding edge technology is that it requires infrastructure, and we absolutely have ways of checking and auditing nation states to ensure that they're not doing certain types of research or certain types of activities that require that kind of infrastructure. We already do that with nuclear arms. And we can totally do that with some of these other bleeding edge technologies as well. And so with international cooperation, we can actually hold each other accountable on these things. Because that's one of the fear that people have of like, well, if we don't do it, then the bad guys are going to do it. Actually, that's not true. That's not actually reality. It's expensive to create these kinds of technologies, and in order to do, like I said, that requires infrastructure, and we can, through international cooperation, ensure that the quote-unquote bad guys aren't pursuing these technologies, or at least aren't ahead of us, too far ahead, and kind of the goal is that as we do have these new technologies coming on safely, that what we can do is once these new technologies are coming online safely and we've taken our time with them, at some point we would be able to set up global infrastructure with these technologies to directly, if there were bad actors, eventually when the technology gets more and more accessible and smaller entities and actors have access to it, we can use that same technology to fight what those smaller actors are doing. And we should be able to have if we have large international cooperation, that shouldn't be able to be cut through by smaller actors. So I think that there is a way to pursue some of these technologies that is helpful. I know I'm being very abstract and vague today. To be honest, I didn't plan this live stream out very well, but it is like I just want to at least show my concern for it, and that like it is there are some serious threats, and that I do want to do something about it, and that I want to make sure that there are cooler heads in the room who are thinking more long term and thinking outside of just the scope of the research and kind of what the bigger implications of some of the innovations that we're working on. So I don't have much else to say on the topic. I did want to talk about geoengineering. Yeah, trying to one of the things scientists are considering as kind of a last-ditch effort to fight climate change is to like block out the sun, basically. But the way that we would do that is to put particulates into the air, like white particulates into the upper atmosphere to reflect sunlight, and like it's I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, we already know that that's going to cause other knock-on effects that we don't want to see. It's hard to control. The study's not really there. And historically, we have done a very poor job of trying to alter the environment or the planet and having it go well. It never does. Obviously, as we see right now with our current environmental crisis, is not going well, but also like when we introduce like invasive species to habitats to try to like control some population, it fails very, very often. It almost always backfires. So I just don't think that we are anywhere close to ready to intentionally geoengineering the planet to save climate change, other than just decarbonization. So again, I think we really need to have really big considerations about these things, and we need to approach them cautiously. So that's where I'm at. I think I really am. I'm doing a live stream tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Central with Annie Cowling. We are going to be talking about the Bill of Rights, going through the entirety, all 10 amendments. She's actually probably going to be driving a lot of that conversation. I'm really interested to hear what she has to say about it. But I'm going to try to advertise that a little bit more, but hopefully y'all will join us for that and bring in your questions and stuff. And I think next week though, I'm gonna switch up the time for this live stream to try to get more people on and go, depending on how tomorrow night's stream goes. If I get more viewers, more interaction, then I might switch this up and at a different time, and I might like kind of start over and go back to the beginning and talk about universal basic income and voting methods and on my platform again, because some of those videos are a little bit lost. I didn't have the YouTube channel up so at the time, so it might be good, particularly if I'm starting over. So and especially as I swear I've finished writing up all my policy stuff. So I just got to update this website now. So yeah, going into September, might be experimenting with some new things. All right. Oh, hey, what's up? You just joined. Nice to have you. I was just about to end streaming. I was just talking about how we need to be more cautious about some future technologies and stuff. Did you have any questions or anything before I hopped off? Anything you want me to talk about? All right. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and end the stream then. Right there. And